Re-entering the theater, music, and film scene is strange because part of why I felt like an imposter is that I feel my dad's energy everywhere. Many artists that make it do not have talent, they simply have audacity. This was the essential characteristic to my father's abuse and ability to be so smoke and mirrors that in the end he avoided any reflection. The problem was I was very reflective, and it was in part because of his abuse, but also my nature. I love people. I love to meet people. I love to make them smile. I love to hang out. I love to hear them and comfort them. I love to play and wonder with them. I love to talk and discover our favorite things together. It is why I love my most recent group of friends, my day fours. My 20s were built by the many faces that somehow shared my father's soul and malice and perceived might. Yet I was determined to make my entrance into my 30s the first decade of my life where I was genuinely loved, including by myself, where I did not somehow land in false relationships that knew how to look good or ended me up abused, used, and tossed away. I wanted people that stayed to enjoy me and moved me enough to enjoy myself sometimes. I wonder if that is why God made human beings. You fall in love with perfection, at least in image, and lose so much when that mask drops that you become determined for authenticity, even if you have no clue how to be it. I've always said I know I'm fantastic, but I do not know why you think you are. That was the essence of my imposter syndrome. Jealousy. I was surrounded by people that were so boldly empty and truly the epicenter of their world / the universe. And I, love incarnate, was struggling to even be a participant in mine. My envy was not in their talent because I was consistently surprised by how much talent there was in the world and how much it would be ignored for someone confident enough to claim it when they did not have it. That was the real talent of my dad, to love no one, hurt everyone, and still manage and desire to be the center of all. Lucifer would be proud of him. He had that ability to follow his desire at all costs, and with no moral finding or foundation is what even made me jealous of him, because it is what his abuse crushed in me. The power to believe wanting something is enough reason to get it. When you're in an abusive relationship, especially with a parent, you are made to believe that everything is earned and you have a problem. You are such a human scumbag that the little light in you that exists just transfers into compensation for how decrepit your presence is to handle. For my father, I was a born bitch. Naturally annoying and ridiculous, stupid to the point he had to say it all the time, and ugly, which made my supposed annoying nature transfer into his disgust. Hearing this as a kid made all the good of me that was so much better than him, than he could ever be, oddly serve him, because he was evil, but he was also bold, and he understood that malice thrives off of what good fails to be, confident. So let's unpack this episode, shall we? Audacity versus talent. I was always, I'll be honest, I was jealous of my father's ability to get away with everything and to spark compassion when he didn't deserve it, especially when my mother was so strict and harsh on me. And one of the clashes I've had, one of my mommy issues is that my mother was, one of the most generous, fantastic people to everybody. You gave her a penny, she gave you $20 and a lifetime membership of her loyalty. But with me, I just didn't get that same form of loving. It was a lot of rules, a lot of demands, a lot of scolding. And my father, she would say, ruined her life. But oh, hi, how are you? And they would crack jokes. And I just didn't get that same grace at all. And it was a grace that my father not only got from my mother, but he got from everybody. And I wrote this in a previous episode. I felt resentment over the fact that I was a better human being and more questioned and more demanded from. And I had to compensate for somebody that just knew how to look at, knew how a known, notorious liar that people wondered, well, maybe he's telling the truth this time. It was insane. And I think one of the things that holds me back in this industry is that he had it right. My father never paid for any of the ills he did. He only paid for the ills he committed to himself, which is obviously his addictions, right? But like if you eat badly, well, you get poor health. Like that, and he thought that was his karma. But you snort half the world is in your nose. And I think what was so strange for me was just, and what takes me aback about this industry was kind of to be so bold and so empty, to be eager to be connected to without having any connection to anyone. And we see that a lot with social media. I think the recent cancellation of Haley Bailey is a perfect example. Although, can we call it a cancellation? I think she lost 1,000 followers. She's absolutely fine. But I remember, every time somebody's about to have like a little bit of a baby downfall, let's call it, it's not even a cancellation, it's a baby downfall. Everybody comes from the woodwork to kind of say that they're empty and they're vacant. And I remember Kim Kardashian, some podcaster was talking about his marvel because he had never seen someone that just like didn't feel. If she got booed, she was just, if she got complimented, complimented, she was just, like no reaction, no affect. And people were saying that was the same for Haley. Like they are moving images. And my father was a moving image. And I was so raw and so pure and so open and so vulnerable that he abused me into fragility. He turned everything soft in me into this rock that I had to carry, this heaviness, this jagged heaviness. And then he would smile and be the hit of a party and act like he was a really great father and resent me if I even mentioned he did anything wrong, like when I called him a sperm donor. Because he was trying to say he raised me, and that's why I was so good at theater. And what I should have said, I'm good at theater because you taught me how to lie. What is a character if not pretend? But when I go into these industry events, I think that's where I lack humility myself. That's where my ego clashes with their ego, because we're both moving an ego. Yes, they are empty and only focus on themselves and their money. But I'm judging them because I don't do the same, at least in a genuine format. Like I could be kindness and focused on myself. If they want to be emptiness and focused on themselves, that's their prerogative. I'm basically being arrogant in a humble way. And that I really want to correct because that distracts me. That pulls me out of focus. Who am I? Whether I can tell somebody's being fake or not, which I'm very intuitive. I'm very good at spotting, the issues, the real ones versus the fake ones. But what I'm realizing is I don't know if that matters unless I'm trying to build a genuine connection. Because I feel like I see that. I use that superpower not to build genuine connections, which is the grand irony about Daddy Recovery. I keep on finding these really toxic relationships. I feel like I do that to judge people that are doing what I want and then, victimize myself, hang myself on the holy cross and say, well, Jesus, we really tried, martyrdom. It's this weird thing that I do where I use people's boldness, even if it's boldly malicious, to absolve myself from the fact that I'm not confident, that I'm just a good coward. And it's been a jagged pill to accept that I am a good person, but I'm not that good if I'm not good to myself. That I can be wild and fun, but if I'm not confident, that kind of just makes me a dud. I'm the equivalent to that guy who was a hit in high school and then 20 years later finds himself at the parking lot drinking beer. It just feels like I'm prepping myself to stay in emptiness and just judging people who know how to still be triumphant in their emptiness. You know, they are triumphantly empty while I'm functionally depressed, and that is not. I'm not to be praised either, and I just don't like that about me, and I really want to heal that, because I remember, I feel that is a learned behavior. Especially my mother's family. My God, you would think we were the Kardashians in terms of fame and money. Everybody's jealous of you. Everybody wants what you want. And then my mother, I think one of the tragedies of my mother is that she thought she was not like her family by going the total opposite. Like she would always say, my mother, I hate how my mother holds grudges. So what she did was never hold a grudge. But she also never held protection. Like she never held safety. Oh, I forgive everybody. But at the same time, she resented herself and she judged herself. And that was this weird dynamic. It was so imbalanced. And it's something that I think a lot of people do, and why so many people feel lost nowadays. We know what we don't want, but we don't know what we do. And it's like saying, automatically, because you don't want mean people, you want kind people, right? But what does kindness mean to you? Without unpacking that, without discovering and exploring what kindness means, you really stay stuck on the fact that you just don't want mean people. And that opens you to love bombing and weird existential episodes, or makes you like me, where I really can feel righteous judging someone who is bolder than me, even if they're less talented and less creative, like the producer. But I'm not doing what I want to do. So if anything, I should admire that losers, spiritual losers, know how to materially win. And imagine what this world would be if good people just went for what they want. Ugh, imagine. Check out daddyrecovery.com for more of my stories. Please follow and subscribe on all my platforms for the posts that support these stories. And follow Deandra on all platforms as well, because that's where you'll see my music. I really love you guys, and I thank you for following me. And I really, always leave comments, leave your stories. Please only leave positive comments. And if you tell me your story, let it be rich and wonderful and genuine to you, because you just know authenticity. And I really would love to meet the people that are following me, because it makes me feel less lonely. I know that sounds so strange, but it really, really does. Thank you.